Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I hope that everybody has a great Friday as I'm coming at you with a lot of big energy. I just had a coffee as I'm pre-recording this morning. I'm just fired up. I'm fired up about this show. I know it's been a month since I have not had my show on the radio station, WQEE. I wish that station well. I wish Ryan O'Neal, the station manager, well. I hope he's recovering from his surgery. Life happens. Things happen for a reason. And I felt that it was in my obligation to continue pushing on with this show. I'm at 955 episodes. I'm trying to get to 1,000 sometime next year. And I'm going to keep pushing. I don't have this show 5 days a week like I did on the radio station, but I at least want to get this show out 3 days a week. You can catch the Wednesday episode on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live's Facebook page. I will get into the Sports Vision's Football Awards Luncheon. That was just a fantastic event. But we also got to talk about Bill Belichick going to North Carolina, and I do have some thoughts on that. We have some other coaching moves that are pretty big, but I think this Bill Belichick to North Carolina kind of overshadows the other coaching moves. And then the Super Bowl window for the San Francisco 49ers has officially closed. And now I'm thinking, does Kyle Shanahan try to move on and try to get another challenge? I know there was talks about maybe coaching the Bears, but the Bears would have to give some draft picks to the 49ers. I'll get into that. High school basketball, like always on Friday nights, we've got high school basketball action. I'm actually calling the Spencer Brookstone games tonight, and the Columbus flag football team is in the state championship. What a win over Long County. Don't forget, next Tuesday, Carver is in the state championship. You know, I ran into Isaiah Crowell at the Football Awards Luncheon. I know he's excited that his Carver Tigers are in the state championship. Well, we talked a little bit about that. And it's such a great time to be a sports fan in the Fountain City. All right. I'm actually going to start this show talking about the Sports Vision's 17th Annual Football Awards Luncheon. The guest speaker was former Denver Broncos defensive back Jeremiah Castile. He did a fantastic job as the speaker. He is currently the chaplain for the University of Alabama's football team, played at Central. He had just a fantastic NFL career. He's actually known for stripping Ernest Biner in the 1987 AFC Championship. I know that Cleveland Brown fans will never forget that. But he's just got so many talented sons that played football. And in fact, his son Caleb Castile is an actor. As I'm choking up on my words, he actually played Capadonna in the American Saga, the Wu-Tang series, which I binge watched on Hulu. So I think that, and I had to look that one up too. But I shook his hand after the luncheon. I said, you mean so much to this community. You've had such a positive impact on all these student athletes, and really, your sons really reflect like the type of person you are with what they have carried on their careers. So it was really exciting. And I was honored that I got to present several awards during the Football Awards Luncheon, including Comeback Player of the Year. LaGrange's Malachi Fanning Render, which, by the way, he has committed to Liberty, so he had his signing day after the awards. Man, if I would have known that, I would have mentioned that during the award ceremony. But yeah, congratulations to Malachi Fanning Render, who had such an incredible career at LaGrange, as LaGrange made it to the semifinals for the first time since 2008. I actually ran into Coach Pete Wiggins from the Callaway Cavaliers. We talked a little bit, and I was just proud of what Callaway has built up. I think it was great that we've had Callaway, LaGrange, and Troup County at this football awards luncheon. You know that the LaGrange area is near and dear to my heart because I worked up in LaGrange for 6 years. Since I left in June, I still want to give LaGrange, Troup County, and Callaway love because, we cover them and we also talk about them in the Noonan area. I know that this show used to be on a Noonan radio station, and I still haven't forgot about you guys. And I've had like Kevin Eckleberry on the show. I've had Tanner Glisson, the coach for Troup County. I've had some, several people like Antoine Prather, who covers LaGrange College. Just so much sports up there, and it's really a hidden gem over there in Troup County. And the highlight of the night was, and it really surprised me and Thrift, was there was a final award that was given, and DJ Jones presented this to Thrift and myself, and the Community Service Award went to Georgia Alabama Sports Live. That was a huge honor, and I was truly blessed. I know that Thrift was blessed. It's a team effort. We appreciate everybody at Georgia Alabama Sports Live just for all the hard work and dedication. We love doing what we do. We continue grinding and just calling games. This is really what I love to do, is to produce games, call games, trying to build up on-air talent and trying to build our brand. But it's really the most important thing is just giving these student athletes the coverage they deserve. And that is more important than any awards. I mean, it's nice to be recognized, and I feel honored that I was a part of this. But yeah, we have a nice little trophy, and Thrift is probably going to put it in his office. We took pictures with it. It was a great moment. So later on last night, Pacelli took on Central in girls basketball. This game was not live streamed, but WRBL was there. Central gets the victory, and the Central Lady Red Devils are now 10-1. Pacelli falls to 2-1. They are taking on Griffin tonight at the Land. You can catch that game on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be at Brookstone for the Spencer Brookstone matchup. The girls will start at 6. The boys will start at 7:30. And some of the other games that are happening around the Chattahoochee Valley, Rick Beach from Kutsu Sports is going to be up in Hamilton for Hardaway Harris County. Oh, I cannot wait for that matchup. That's going to be great. The Carver boys, 3-0 on the season. They're going to be up in Troup County taking on the Callaway Cavaliers. We've got Columbus taking on Northside tonight. Central is on the road taking on Pinson Valley, the Central boys, that is. Glenwood is on the road taking on Lynette. Calvary Christian is on the road taking on Wiregrass down in Dothan, Alabama. A big shout out to Philip Jordan from the Wiregrass area down in Dothan. All right, tomorrow I'm going to be at Calvary Christian for an archery contest. Over 160 archers with 7 schools. Some of the high schools are included: Trinity Christian out of Sharpsburg and Lafayette Christian out of LaGrange. So that's going to be a great event. And then on Saturday, 11:30 in the morning, Hardaway taking on Holy Innocents Episcopal. This is a rematch of the Elite 8 game last year where Hardaway ended up winning on their home court to punch their ticket to the Final Four. I was there. We didn't live stream it. I kind of wish we did because the NFHS network was not there. But that was a great moment. They are taking on Holy Innocents Episcopal for the rematch. And then the Pacelli Vikings, they are taking on Loganville Christian Academy. This is a rematch of the GIAA State Championship. Northside is on the road taking on Russell County. And Carver and Columbus, big region matchup. That's going to be at Columbus High School. Harris County on the road taking on Smith Station, and Shaw hosting Sumter County. And then Central is hosting Alexander. I think that game is a tournament, but I'm not sure if that's going to be at Central. So high school basketball is in full effect. We even have region games, but we still have high school flag football and football. Two teams in this area are still alive for the state championship. How about the Columbus Lady Blue Devils? They ended up going on the road to Ludwicki, which it's about 30 minutes east of Hinesville. I'm very familiar with Hinesville because I was mainly spent a lot of ATs, annual trainings in the military at Fort Stewart. It's below Greenville, the home of Shannon Sterling Sharp. Ludwicki, Long County was hosting Columbus flag football. A big shout out to WSAV for getting the highlights. I was able to see the highlights on WRBL. WSAV is a sister station of WRBL. Serenity Hickman, touchdown pass, touchdown run. Columbus flag football gets the 19-6 victory over Long County. I congratulated Coach Greer after the game. I have been honored not only to be a part of Flag Football Media Day from Muskogee County, but to be able to live stream as many Columbus flag football games as we possibly could in the regular season. And then I had the privilege to live stream the quarterfinal matchup on Georgia Alabama Sports Live against Washington County. And Columbus is back in the state title game. And they won a championship back in 2019 when they were getting flag football off the ground. But they are going to have a very tough matchup against the three-time champion Southeast Bullock, which, by the way, Southeast Bullock went undefeated the last two seasons. They had a huge win streak. It was snapped this year. They lost 7-0 to Calvary Day. Columbus, if you look at that record, 22-6, but they've lost to Pacelli, they lost to Central, they lost to Auburn, they lost to Harris County. They had a tough schedule, but I think that Coach Greer has got them prepared. As Serenity Hickman with 79 touchdown passes this year. Alexandria Lofton, one of the best flag football players, not only in the state of Georgia, but in the country. But Serenity Hickman, she's got other weapons too. Harmony Franklin is just a talented running back who could also catch the ball in the backfield, and she has been a very good second option for Serenity Hickman. This team is fantastic. They are going to play Monday, 12 o'clock at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the Division I Flag Football State Championship. So congratulations to the Columbus Lady Blue Devils. Some of the other divisions in girls flag football. So at 2 o'clock on Monday, we got Division II. We got North Oconee taking on Greenbrier. On the 17th at 11 o'clock in the morning, we've got Pope taking on Pace Academy. And then on the 18th at 11 o'clock in the morning, we've got the Division IV Flag Football Championship, Lambert taking on McEachern. So on Tuesday, we are going to be down at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, 4 o'clock kickoff. The Carver Tigers back in the state championship for the first time since 2021 when they were a 4A school and they lost to Benedictine. This is Coach Pierre Coffey's third year. In his first year, he got Carver to the quarterfinals where they lost to Oconee County. Last year, got them to the semifinals where they lost to Savannah Christian. This year, now into 2A, they were in 3A before then. They are taking on Burke County, who also has a loss. Carver's only loss was to Harris County. Burke County lost to 4A Benedictine. And Burke County is in the state championship for the first time since 2011. If you look at this Carver Tigers team, their defense has played lights out so far this season. And it starts with that D-line led by Tristan Givens. But you also have players on that defense like A.J. Wilson, Jatavius Wisdom, Zay Billingsley. Just such great talent. And Matthew Mungden, 28 touchdown passes this year. Kelston Tarver and Jacoby Caslin both rushed for over 1,000 yards. And then Braylon Jakes with 15 touchdown receptions. Carver has outscored their opponents 39-7. They should be favorites in this game, but this is going to be just an exciting game. I mean, Carver has blown out everybody. Appling County last week, 49-6. The week before against Pierce County, 44-7. In the second round against Ringgold, that was actually a much closer game, 35-14. But Carver's defense rarely gives up more than 14. In fact, they have pitched a couple of shutouts this year. I think that game against Sumter County when they won 31-0, that was a statement game because it really put the entire state of Georgia on notice. The Carver Tigers back in the state championship. It's a great time to be a Carver Tiger. That school on the hill, just so many alumni that we talk about on this show, including Isaiah Crowell, DJ Jones, Nate Odoms, Brinston Buckner. I've met Brinston Buckner and I've met Isaiah Crowell, and I know that there's just a lot of pride with that school on the hill. All right. Let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about Bill Belichick. I have some thoughts on how he's going to do. You don't want to go anywhere. It is the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, and we are presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and we will be right back after this quick commercial break.
Introducing Gatorade Water. Alkaline and electrolyte infused for great taste. Gatorade Water, always in motion.
All right, we are back, and we are better than ever. Not on the radio, but that's okay. This is episode 955. It is Friday. I'm excited to be here. Don't forget, I will have a Monday show, Wednesday, and Friday. And here's the thing. If you want to be a guest on the show, just message me. I will find a way to fit you in the schedule. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I could go the full hour talking about sports. This is what I do. But I also like getting the stories from other talented members of the sports media, players, coaches. We do have our coaches shows on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. So I still have a lot of interviews that I've done. But there's a lot of broadcasters out there, talented broadcasters, that I would love to tell their story. I've had over 80 guests on the Sports Beat since I've done this show for almost 5 years. In January, it will be 5 years. I cannot believe I've done this show for 5 years. It started out as an audio-only podcast. I do about 15 to 20 minutes. And sometimes I do it every day. Sometimes I went an entire month without doing a show. I didn't really have a format. It was just whenever I felt like it, I'd do a show. And then I was discovered by Ryan O'Neal, and I give him so much credit for discovering me. I honestly feel when I got the job as the play-by-play announcer for the Columbus Rapids, it gave me credibility. So when Ryan O'Neal discovered me and asked me if I wanted to have a radio show on WQEE, I could not pass that up. And so it started out as a half-hour show, afternoon drive, 5 o'clock. I was right before Bryce Kuhn. His show was on at 5:30. And then it took off and it became an hour-long show, and I was part of that just incredible 5-hour sports lineup, starting with Rod Peterson. I was on from 2 to 3, and then Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks was on after me from 3 to 5, and then Bryce Kuhn was on, I think, later in the day. Brian Snow was also part of that lineup, and I miss it. I can't believe it's been a month. I probably got to reach out to Rod Peterson or Mac McGee. I've had both of them on my show. I've had Bryce Kuhn on my show. I think we are still part of that WQEE family, and I do miss my broadcasting colleagues, and I wish them well. And I hope that Ryan O'Neal is able to recover from his surgery and that he could get back to doing what he loves doing. And I know that there's going to be radio stations out there that are going to give him an opportunity just because he is absolutely talented at what he does. And I wish him nothing but the best. All right. So this happened over the week. I didn't drop it on my last show, but it was official that Bill Belichick is the North Carolina head coach. He was introduced yesterday in a press conference. And the reason why this is a very big story. A lot of people didn't think he was ever going to get back into coaching. If he was going to get into coaching, it would be in the NFL. This is a huge story. I just want to let you guys know, because there's a lot of people out there that has an opinion on this. I was listening to Josh Pate. I was listening to Jake Crane, Chris Vernon, the sports talk radio guys that I normally listen to, Colin Cowherd. I have my favorites. And when I think of my Mount Rushmore of sports talk radio guys, it's Colin Cowherd, Jake Crane, Josh Pate, and Chris Vernon. Why Chris Vernon? Well, I went to college with him at Freed-Hardeman, and I've always recognized the talent from day one. And he is super funny, super talented, but also super regional to Memphis, which I think that he could be national. Anyway, Bill Belichick was introduced as the North Carolina head coach. He takes over from Mack Brown. North Carolina, if you've seen their record since Mack Brown was the coach since 2019, they've at least won 6 games. They went 6-6 this year. They are going to a bowl game. The standard is not very high at North Carolina. North Carolina is a basketball school, but I think that Bill Belichick is a celebrity coach, kind of like Deion at Colorado. I kind of see a Deion Colorado scenario with Bill Belichick. With NIL and the transfer portal, players are going to want to play for Bill Belichick, who won 6 Super Bowls. But the big question is, can he win without Tom Brady? Because you look at his record as the New England Patriots head football coach when Brady left. He has that 1 playoff appearance with Mac Jones and didn't really do a whole lot. That whole Patriots culture, do your job, no days off, it was brilliant for 20 years. This was a dynasty in the NFL. Before Tom Brady got there, he was 5-11 his first year in New England. In Cleveland, he did have a 10-6 season and made the playoffs, but he wasn't really lighting up the world in Cleveland. We've had a history of NFL coaches, successful NFL coaches, that have gone on and coach in college. And, you think of Herm Edwards at Arizona State. You think of Dave Wannstedt at Pitt. How about Bill Walsh going to Stanford? I remember when I was in high school, that was a huge deal. Bill Walsh retired from the 49ers in 1989, and he goes to coach at Stanford and had some success. I think Bill Belichick is going to have some success because the expectations at North Carolina is not to win a national championship. I think that North Carolina football fans would be happy if they were just relevant. 9-10 wins, competing for ACC championships. North Carolina was there. We've had a history of good quarterbacks that have come out of North Carolina, like Drake May, like Mitchell Trubisky, like Sam Howell. If Bill Belichick gets the quarterback right, I think North Carolina can be a very good team, maybe even compete for the college football playoff. But this is what I want to see as a sports fan. Next year, Colorado and North Carolina in a bowl game. Please, let's make it happen. Coach Prime going up against Bill Belichick. I also want to see in the summertime, can we get a Pate State speaker series with Josh Pate sitting down with Bill Belichick? Please let this happen. Look, Bill Belichick, his personality kind of got let loose during the Eli and Peyton, the Monday night thing that he did in the beginning of the first half. He does have a personality. I know that people look at his personality that he is rigid, and then his press conferences, he doesn't really give you much. But all this guy wants to do is coach. Let him coach, because I do think he is a very good X's and O's coach on the defensive side of the ball. Personally, I think this works out if he brings along Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator. And let's take it a step further. Let's go get Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator. Let's bring that Patriot way back into college football. Some people say it's not going to work. I think it's going to work because he's going to build himself and surround himself around a staff that's going to be there to help recruit. And, he is going to be just a face and really the brand of the organization of North Carolina. And I think that that's going to recruit itself. If he's smart, he makes an appearance at a North Carolina basketball game, especially when they play Duke. He's already said in his press conference, the goal is to beat Duke. I was talking to somebody who actually is a little bit more closer to the program, that in football, NC State is the big rival for North Carolina football, not Duke. That's a big rivalry in basketball, obviously, because that's probably one of the greatest rivalries in sports. I think that Bill Belichick needs to make appearances at North Carolina basketball games, like at halftime. Just get the Tar Heel Nation, the fan base, just excited about Bill Belichick, because he's got something to prove. He's 72 years old. He has got something to prove. I still think he could coach, but let's see how that goes. We do have some other coaching moves that this Bill Belichick to North Carolina really overshadowed these two moves. How about Rich Rodriguez going back to West Virginia? He was the coach there from 2001 to 2007, won a Sugar Bowl in 2006. That was a 2005 season when Pat White ended up beating DJ Shockley in the Sugar Bowl that was held in Atlanta because of Hurricane Katrina. And his quarterback, Pat White, which I said, why not bring Pat White as your quarterback's coach, your offensive coordinator? Because Pat White was a winner at West Virginia. As he beat Georgia Tech in a bowl game. He beat Georgia in a bowl game. He won 4 bowl games during his college career. I like this move. Rich Rodriguez led Jacksonville State to the Conference USA Championship when they started 0-3. Rich Rodriguez to West Virginia. That's a great move. And then Dan Mullen returns from coaching. He never should have got fired from Florida. But Dan Mullen is back in coaching. We see him on College Football Final with Joey Galloway. He's a very good personality. I hope he embraced recruiting. UNLV needs to embrace being in Vegas, playing at Allegiant Stadium. I really wanted UNLV to go to the Pac-12. They're going to stay in the Mountain West. I hate that move, but I think that UNLV, which was really good under Barry Odom, is going to carry over. Barry Odom's now at Purdue. All right, that was a lot, but let's go ahead and talk about the Thursday night game that happened last night. The season's over for the 49ers. They're not going to make the playoffs. In fact, the Super Bowl window has officially closed. This was the most pitiful, pathetic offensive putout that the 49ers have ever had under Kyle Shanahan. And even when Kyle Shanahan had Nick Mullins, and now I'm thinking that it's time to blow this up. I still think you give Brock Purdy a long-term contract because he is pretty good. He's not great, but he's a starting quarterback in this league that can win you some games. But the writing was written on the wall. When I heard the injury report that Trent Williams was not going to play, and this is a big division game, and it's Sean McVay, and he's got the better quarterback, and Sean McVay finds a way to win with the better quarterback. This is how the Rams were able to beat the 49ers earlier in the season, because you got Matthew Stafford. And the Rams receivers were out in that game. Puka Nacua, even though Cooper Kupp is really getting up there in age, he is not the same player he was during that Super Bowl year. But remember, that Super Bowl year, they had Odell Beckham Jr. too. But Puka Nacua is just an incredible talent. I got to give credit to the 49ers defense for holding the Rams to 4 field goals, because this game, it felt like, even though the 49ers were up 6-3 going into that fourth quarter, it felt like this game was controlled by the Rams. The 49ers could not get anything on offense, only 197 yards of offense. I know Christian McCaffrey was out. I know Jordan Mason was out. I know Elijah Mitchell's been out. Isaac Guerrero, the rookie, did not have a very good game. If the 49ers can't run the football, Deebo Samuel looks lost out there. Your only option is possibly Jawan Jennings, but if Jawan Jennings is your number one receiver, the Rams have good enough corners to lock him down, and they took him out of the game. Deebo Samuel can't, I don't know if he's injured or he's just not the same player. And then George Kittle, he's getting up there in age. No, I was very impressed with the defense by the 49ers, but once Dre Greenlaw went out of that game, I mean, it was good to see Dre Greenlaw back. With Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner and Nick Bosa back in the lineup, that 49ers defense is stout, and they are tough. And they actually they got the Rams to punt their first 5 possessions, which has never happened under a Sean McVay-led team. But when it's all said and done, Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, that quarterback coach combination is going to get the job done. And now the Rams sit there at 8-6. And I think because the Seahawks have a tough schedule, having to play Green Bay and Minnesota, and they play the Rams at the end of the season in LA, I think the Rams win the division and they get in the playoffs. As for the 49ers, well, their streak of at least making it to the conference championship is still alive. You have to go all the way back to 2002 when they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the divisional round. Every time the 49ers make the playoffs, they go to the conference championship. I'm here to say they're not making the playoffs. In fact, they had a little playoff projector. They had a 17% chance to make the playoffs going into this game. And if they would have won, it would have bumped up to 20%. Now they're at 0.1. 0.1% to make the playoffs. Their season's over. It was a great run. But the Super Bowl window has closed. That team is just getting older. You're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. I think you got to strike the iron while it's hot. If Kyle Shanahan, which he is a good coach, but he just can't get out of his own way. Kyle Shanahan probably needs to go somewhere like the Bears or maybe even the Falcons. I'm just saying, if it doesn't work out with Raheem Morris, he could always go to Atlanta because I think that his offense could win you a lot of games. But the problem is that he is so reliable on his system. He feels his system is so good he can win with any quarterback. And it just so happens that Brock Purdy has been the best quarterback he's had with the 49ers. I think that Matt Ryan might have been his best quarterback ever in his system. But you got to remember, Kyle Shanahan, even though he is a genius of a play caller, his teams have never been good on special teams. Those little details, like situationally, he's never really been good at. And he's been known for blowing leads. I mean, I don't want to remind Falcons fans, but I also don't want to remind 49er fans about the leads, the double-digit leads he has blown in Super Bowls. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. It just took a rant for me to get worked up about Kyle Shanahan. Yeah, the NFL Thursday night, I don't really go into detail about a Thursday night game, but anytime my San Francisco 49ers are playing, I had to go into detail about that. Hey, we've got some NFL games going on. I mean, it's a light weekend for football. I mean, we still have some college football games. We've got bowl season. We got the Army-Navy game. But I'm here to talk about NFL Week 15 because, the Falcons play the Raiders on Monday. And there is a possibility that Desmond Ridder could start that game. And I'm here to say if Desmond Ridder ends up beating the Atlanta Falcons, I'm at a loss for words. I can't explain it. But we do have some good NFL matchups. I'm just going to go through the NFL matchups, starting with the Ravens and Giants. Baltimore is a 16-point favorite, and they're on the road. But the Ravens are a pretty good road team. They're better than their 8-5 record. The Giants just look lost. They're in the sweepstakes for Shedeur Sanders now. I think the Ravens get the win there. Jets and Jaguars, both teams 3-10. I think that the Jets are giving up on the season. In the Jaguars, they still got something to play for. I was very impressed with them beating Tennessee last week. I think because the Jaguars are playing at home, I think the Jaguars win here. Cowboys and Panthers, Bryce Young is starting to look pretty good for Carolina. I think that the Cowboys kind of feel like they let one slip away Monday night against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, that punt, and, that's the second time I've seen that happen to a Cowboys team. Last time was Thanksgiving back in 1993 with Leon Lett. And that was, I do want to say that was entertaining to see that on the Disney Plus with the Simpsons game. I thought that was pretty creative. I like it when they did that. They did that a couple of weeks ago with the Toy Story game. That was when the Falcons were playing in that. But, yeah, I think the Panthers end up getting the win here over the Cowboys. Commanders and Saints. The Saints are starting to feel like that team that started out 2-0. But, the Commanders, right now, they would be in the playoffs as the number 7 seed. I know that Washington wants to try to get this win, even though it is at New Orleans. Cincinnati and Tennessee facing each other in Nashville. Brian Callahan, the former Bengals offensive coordinator, returns, and he gets to face his former team. The Bengals, their playoff chances, they are very slim, but you can never count out a Joe Burrow team. I think that maybe Joe Burrow finds a way to win this game. Chiefs and Browns. Wouldn't it be the funniest thing if Jameis Winston beat Patrick Mahomes? The Browns are kind of a weird team. They got some great, talented players. They got Nick Chubb. They got Garrett Miles. I mean, the matchup I want to see in this, the Chiefs left tackle, and their 2 tackles, by the way, are not very strong. And that's the downside to the Chiefs, is that you could get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Myles Garrett is going to have a field day, but Patrick Mahomes is going to find a way to make some magical play where you're looking at him like, I can't believe he just did that. And I could see the Chiefs ended up winning this game. Only a 4-point favorite. Wow. You would think they're taking on a 3-10 team, but this is on the road. I think that Vegas is starting to see that the Chiefs are winning all these close games, and that's why it's only by 4 points. All right, Dolphins and Texans. Dolphins have a slight chance to make the playoffs. I think that Houston is just starting to regress a little bit. Maybe the Dolphins pull off the upset. You got the Colts and the Broncos. Broncos would be in the playoffs. And I think that the job that Sean Payton has done with Bo Nix, and a lot of people didn't even think that the Broncos would even be a playoff team. And what a great job. Patriots and Cardinals. Cardinals probably going to find a way to win this game as they're still alive for the NFC West. The game of the day. This is my Super Bowl preview. Bills and Lions. Can we get this in the Super Bowl, please? I know that we're probably going to get Chiefs and Eagles, but this is the Super Bowl that everybody wants. Bills and Lions. That's going to be the CBS game with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. The Fox game, Buccaneers, Chargers. I see the Chargers winning this game. If you're a Falcons fan, you're kind of hoping that the Buccaneers lose this game, because if the Buccaneers lose and the Falcons beat the Raiders on Monday, Falcons are back on top of the NFC South. Steelers, Eagles, another great game. And this is a Fox NFL game of the week with Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady. But yeah, Battle of Pennsylvania, Steelers, Eagles. And then the Sunday night game, Green Bay and Seattle. Yeah, I think that the Packers end up winning this game, and that knocks Seattle back down to being in a tie with the Rams, and then the Rams would end up being the top of the NFC West. The 2 Monday night games, we've got the Falcons and the Raiders. Falcons are favored by 4, and then the Bears taking on the Vikings. Vikings are favored by 7. Vikings trying to catch the Detroit Lions. We'll see how the Lions do against the Buffalo Bills. All right, let's go ahead and take another break. When we come back, I'm going to wrap up this show with the NBA Cup. The Atlanta Hawks make it to the semifinals where they will take on the Milwaukee Bucks. We still got to talk about the college football season. We got the FCS playoffs. One team in Georgia is still alive as they take on a very tough opponent. And then we got another team alive in NCAA Division II in the state of Georgia. You don't want to go anywhere. It is the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, and we'll be back after this.
Introducing Gatorade Water. Alkaline and electrolyte infused for great taste. Gatorade water, always in motion.
We are back here on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Don't forget, I will be at Brookstone tonight for Spencer and Brookstone. The Lady Green Wave, Lady Cougars are going to start at 6 o'clock, and the boys will start at 7:30. I love basketball. I love talking about basketball here on this show, and I'm just excited that, it's basketball season, not just for high school, but for college. We've got some big college basketball matchups this weekend. We've got Georgia taking on Grand Canyon. Georgia's 8-1. Auburn taking on Ohio State. That's going to be in the Holiday Hoopsgiving. That's going to be up in Atlanta. Oh, such a great time to be a basketball fan. But if you are a Hawks fan, the Atlanta Hawks was able to get the victory over the New York Knicks in the Garden, 108-100, as Trae Young, 22 points. They rally in that second half. I was actually watching this game on Bally, and I thought that the Knicks were going to pull it out. But I know this is not part of the 82-game schedule, but the Atlanta Hawks are playing for something, and they will take on the Milwaukee Bucks for the right to go to the NBA Cup in Vegas, which will take place on December the 17th. That game will be on ABC. But first, they got to get past the Milwaukee Bucks, a team they beat about a week ago. But the Atlanta Hawks got something to play for. Milwaukee, which, Darvin Ham, the assistant coach, he's been undefeated in this NBA Cup. I think that Milwaukee is starting to build their identity. Milwaukee kind of feels like it's working out with Giannis and Damian Lillard. Now, right now, Giannis is leading the NBA with 32.7 points a game. Damian Lillard, pretty good number two behind Giannis, averaging 25 points a game. Bobby Portis, he's got that championship pedigree. He is just a dog on defense. And then Brook Lopez, a great double-double just about every time. Chris Middleton, he hasn't really played that much. He's only played in 3 games. The fact that the Bucks are relevant without Chris Middleton, it really speaks on the Bucks culture. Big shout out to Bobby Z, huge Milwaukee Bucks fan. I know he's rooting on for the Bucks, but Trae Young, I'm telling you, this guy, he has been a very good player. He's only made the All-Star once. He's only made the All-Star team once. He's got the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals. He's got the Hawks in playoff appearances. What more do you want from this guy? He averages over 12 assists a game, and I think that the narrative is, he can't play with superstars, and that's why DeJounte Murray is no longer a Hawk. But Jalen Johnson, I'm telling you, this guy is a future All-Star. Also, DeAndre Hunter, averaging 19 points off the bench. DeAndre Hunter could be a 6th man of the year. You could possibly have Dyson Daniels as most improved player of the year, because Dyson Daniels is averaging 13.5 points a game, but he is more of a defensive specialist. And I do believe that the Hawks are going to make a run in the NBA playoffs. I'd be happy if the Hawks just got to the second round. But I know we saw them in 2021 reach the conference finals where they played the Bucks. The Bucks will go on to win the NBA title that year. And as a Hawks fan, you thought, well, the expectations, this is what they should do every year. Well, I mean, that was an anomaly because of the collapse of the Sixers and Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid not working out together, that the Hawks were able to take advantage. They were able to beat the Knicks in the Garden, as they have owned the Knicks. And, the rest is history. They were able to, get a game 1 in the Eastern Conference Finals against Milwaukee. I still believe if Trae Young didn't step on the ref's ankle, then I think that the Hawks are in the NBA Finals. I don't know if they would have won it, but I think that there's a possibility that the Atlanta Hawks could have made the NBA Finals in 2021. All right, this has been a lot. This has been a great show. I'm trying to get as much stuff as possible on this show. I do want to say good luck to the Columbus State soccer team. They are in the Final Four in Matthews, North Carolina. They had a send-off on Wednesday at Columbus State. They are taking on Minnesota State in the Final Four. So good luck to them. We've got the LaGrange College Christmas Tournament that is going on Saturday and Sunday. So I know LaGrange College is going to be showcasing a lot of college teams in that area. It is bowl season officially tomorrow. And even though we got the Army-Navy game, which I love, and it really means a lot because they were replaying the Army-Navy game from last year. It was really exciting. Last year, both teams were 5-6. The winner was going to a bowl game. Now you got Navy 8-3, Army ranked in the top 25, and they just won the American Conference 11-1. Some people say, like, because Navy had a whole week to prepare for Army, that I think that Navy ends up winning. And what's crazy is they're not going to have a new top 25 rankings next week. If Army loses, do they get knocked out of the top 25, and do they put somebody in that had some votes? Probably not. So I know this game means a lot, but in the whole grand scheme of the college football playoff and the bowl selection, it really doesn't. Let's be honest. I mean, we've all did that. And then we got the Heisman Trophy presentation tomorrow. The 4 finalists, Cam Ward from the University of Miami, which he was a Heisman contender in the beginning when Miami was undefeated, and then they started losing games, and then he kind of lost his lackluster. Dylan Gabriel on an undefeated team for Oregon. I'm not a firm believer like that you give the Heisman Trophy to a player that's like on the best team, because they gave that to Troy Smith when Darren McFadden should have got it. They gave it to Jason White. I did not believe that Jason White or Eric Crouch for Nebraska, I didn't believe they were the best players in college football. So Dylan Gabriel's there because he's the quarterback on the undefeated team, the only undefeated team in college football. I do think it's going to go down to 2 players. Alshon Jeanty from Boise State, who's having a phenomenal season. Boise State's a number 3 seed in the college football playoff. Their only loss was on a walk-off field goal by Oregon as they lost by 3. And Alshon Jeanty is the type of running back that will rush for over 250 yards, and he is just breaking records on that blue turf. And then Travis Hunter. We have not seen a player like Travis Hunter since probably Charles Woodson back in 1998. But Travis Hunter is doing things that we have never seen done, playing elite wide receiver and elite defensive back pretty much every snap. And I think that he could do this in the NFL, but I think you give the Heisman Trophy to Travis Hunter, even though Colorado has 3 losses and they are not in the college football playoff. I still think Travis Hunter is going to win the Heisman Trophy. Remember, he was the number 1 recruit out of Collins Hill, and he went to Jackson State. This was a big deal on National Signing Day. The number 1 overall recruit was going to an FCS school. It's like, man, how is Dion doing this? And I'm thinking, oh, Jackson State should be winning the FCS championship, even though the SWAC schools, they play in the Celebration Bowl, but they don't get an opportunity to play for the FCS playoffs. That's neither here or there. But what he has done, Travis Hunter, have just an incredible season. I think Travis Hunter wins the Heisman. It is bowl season. Let's start with the Cricket Celebration Bowl. Jackson State and South Carolina State, 12 o'clock on ABC this Saturday. And that is always a great time. That's going to be at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We've got the Salute to Veterans Bowl. That's going to be Saturday night, South Alabama taking on Western Michigan. That is going to be in Montgomery at the Cramden Bowl. And then on Tuesday, we've got Memphis taking on West Virginia. Remember, West Virginia 6-6. They got Rich Rodriguez now. Maybe West Virginia. I don't know. They're in the Big 12. I think that Rich Rodriguez won a lot of those games when they were in the Big East. They were dominating the Big East when Rich Rodriguez was there. But I think this is going to be a very good game. This is going to be the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, and that's going to be, on Tuesday at 9 o'clock on ESPN. Wednesday, we got 2 bowl games. We got Western Kentucky and James Madison in the Boca Raton Bowl. And then we got the Art of Sport LA Bowl, Cal, UNLV. Wow, that's going to be a great matchup, UNLV. now with new head coach Dan Mullen. Cannot wait to see what he does there. And then on Thursday, we've got Georgia Southern, 8-4 on the season, as Clay Helton trying to just build that program as they're always competing for a Sun Belt Conference title, taking on Sam Houston, who is 9-3 in the R+L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. It seems like these bowl games, they start earlier and earlier every year. Well, we have to so we can get the college football playoff in. Friday, December the 20th. Remember, this is the first day of the college football playoff. We've got the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. Ohio taking on Jacksonville State. Remember, Rich Rodriguez is not going to coach in this game, but Jacksonville State are your Conference USA champions after starting 0-3. Tulane in Florida. That's going to be a great matchup. I think that Florida's got something to prove. They are a 2-touchdown favorite. That's going to be in the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. I love the fact that Billy Napier's coming back next year. I love the fact DJ Lagway, he's only a freshman. He's just going to have just a tremendous career at the University of Florida. All right, our first game of the college football playoff, the battle for Indiana. I'm dubbing that. I'm going to dub it that. Indiana and Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame's a 7.5-point favorite. I would not be shocked if Indiana ends up pulling off the upset. This is going to be a great game. It's going to be at South Bend. I mean, it's going to be hard to get a ticket for this. I think that the ticket prices, because everybody in the state of Indiana is going to try to go to this game. I know when we think of Notre Dame, we think of a national brand in college football, but Notre Dame is in Indiana. People tend to forget that. So this is a huge deal in the state of Indiana. Saturday, all we have is college football playoff games. We're going to start with the first round game at noon on TNT and HBO Max. Better renew your subscription. SMU and Penn State. Penn State is an 8.5-point favorite. A lot of people, including me, think that Penn State has the easiest path to at least get to the semifinals. 4 o'clock, Clemson and Texas. This is going to be a matchup. It's going to be very interesting, to have Dabo Swinney go up against Sark. And Texas, which was dubbed one of the best teams in college football, had 2 losses to Georgia. The winner of this game is going to take on Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham and Cam Scatabo, and that's going to be in the Peach Bowl right here in Atlanta. That's going to be exciting. And I know that Clemson would love to pull off the upset and to try to get there because, Clemson fans will pack the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But that Texas fans will travel as well. And finally, we got probably the game of the college football playoff first round. Tennessee and Ohio State. Ohio State is a 7-point favorite. They were my favorites to win the national championship. Then they lost to Michigan. Still got rewarded with a home playoff game. But their path is going to be tough because the winner of this game takes on Oregon in the Rose Bowl in the second round, in the quarterfinals. All right, then we got plenty of time to talk about the other bowl games. Monday, December 23rd, we got Coastal Carolina taking on UTSA, and then Northern Illinois taking on Fresno State. And then next week, I will get into all the bowl matchups. I'll try to have guests on. Still going to try to do shows during the Christmas holidays, but I'll tell you, this has been a lot of fun. Enjoy the bowl season. Enjoy all the state championships next week. On Monday's show, I will break down all the matchups in Georgia for the GHSA. This has just been a great show, and I hope that everybody is able to have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday. Enjoy your week.